All right. Thanks everyone for bearing with us for one more panel. I know all you guys probably want to go upstairs and have a few drinks and cocktails and enjoy the rest of the day. So we're going to be talking about native ads. So I got four awesome gentlemen with me. So I'll introduce myself. I'm Brendan Lyle. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Grow Mobile. We're a mobile advertising technology company. We built a platform that allows advertisers to better execute and facilitate the buys of their ads and their ad spends and campaigns across multiple different traffic sources. We're integrated with about 100 today. We also have an analytics solution that measures ROI and downstream analytics. So I guess I'll let these guys start by introducing themselves. Hanno?
Yeah, I'm Hanno. I'm a partner at Applift, leading the San Francisco office at Applift. Applift is a mobile games marketing network. So on the one side, we have 250 game publishers like Zynga, Kabam, King. And on the other side, we have 2,500 traffic sources. And we connect both sides and optimize campaigns. And last week, we announced a new company that we started, which is called Pub Native. And that company is 100% dedicated on doing native advertisement.
Hi, so I am Chad Gallagher. I manage mobile globally for AOL, both our advertising.com network, as well as on the owned and operated side, our properties, Huffington Post, TechCrunch, Engadget, etc.
Hi, I'm Rami Richards. I am a national sales manager on the performance side at Pandora. We basically help performance and direct response advertisers leverage our inventory to achieve their objectives. A lot of our business is working with mobile app developers, so that's our focus.
Hi, it's Andrew French, GM of EMEA for Ad Colony. First off, just like to thank Has Offers for hosting today. Been a great event and great to be here. And then secondly, just a quick intro to Ad Colony. It's a monetization and advertising platform for developers, and we do HD video ads within apps globally.
Cool. All right. So basically over the last, I guess, year and a half, 2 years, more so over the last 9 months, native ads has been a growing topic amongst advertisers looking for new distribution and kind of traffic mediums to reach their user base. So basically, you know, it's becoming a new area for user acquisition managers, as well as a lot of publishers and developers to explore kind of this new native ad type that is yielding a lot of different, you know, results. I guess to kind of kick things off, you know, Hanno, I guess you recently made an investment in a native ads focused company. Can you tell us a little bit about kind of what you've seen and why you thought native ads was an interesting place to start and a good place for Applift to explore?
Yeah. Yeah, if you look at traditional formats like normal banners or interstitials, they are always very intrusive, yeah, and they always have a negative impact on the retention of the user. And if you are an app developer, your main target is to retain the user and have as much time of the user, that the user spends as much time in the app as possible. But we believe that normal ads like interstitials and banners will reduce the time that a user spends in the app because he will be annoyed by all these popping up interstitials. Yeah, and that's why we came up with native ads, because we believe they can be so well integrated in the user experience that they will add value to the ad and to the app, and it's not intrusive. It can be perceived as part of the game or part of the messaging app.
Cool. So basically, what formats are you guys seeing that have been most effective? You know, that have performed the best and most commonly used?
Me.
Sure, Chad, go ahead.
So I guess before I answer the question, I think when we talk performance, I know there's a lot of folks here who try to get app downloads, but I think it's important to just quantify what performance means. So you know, I know some of you may find it hard to believe, but actually not everyone in the world is trying to just get app downloads. So I guess just to back up, if you're a brand, if you're Fidelity, and you're trying to drive engagement in your brand, the native ad for you might be very different, right, than the right execution for some gaming app company. So I guess I'll start there. The second thing I'll say, we track performance really closely at Advertising.com and kind of AOL overall. Optimization is something that we hold very dear to what we do, and we've run some interesting data points where we compare, just looking at like on the app install side, when we compare a display banner versus a native, and in this case, let's just say native being something that fits the page in not just a square rectangle way. We see click-through rates that look pretty similar, actually. But post-click, we see almost 6x the conversion rate, right? So, I mean, that's pretty dramatic, I think. And I think about 6 months ago, we started as kind of a side project, messing around with native. I don't think we really knew where it was going to go or if it would be that big of a deal. And I think when we started to see that data, we realized, like, wow, this is really going to change the industry. And I think Twitter this morning was talking about how ads kind of suck right now in mobile. I think we agree. I think probably most of you would agree, right? The 320x50 square rectangle with the black box, we can probably do better than that. And I think, come back in 2-3 years, I think, half of ads will probably be native in some way, shape, or form. So, I think we believe pretty strongly in it overall.
I can add, from the Pandora perspective, I would say that, our primary native ad unit is really the audio ad, given that our content is music. Therefore, from a performance perspective, layering that audio on top of a display effort generally brings down the cost of CPIs, improves LTV, improves conversion rates, improves engagement. So we're sort of bullish on the early results of these efforts. We also are developing sort of full screen edge-to-edge display units that are designed to do the same thing. So we think there's a lot of opportunity there.
I think we sort of define native as an ad that fits kind of contextually with the app that you're advertising in. So I'll give a couple of examples, I guess. One is our rewarded video format, where a user's playing a game, they're using currency, they're using gold as part of that app experience. So providing an opportunity to watch a video to get more currency or more gold, continue to engage with that game is kind of all part of that experience and all part of that consumer's experience of the app. And then the second one we've recently launched that we announced at South by Southwest is our in-stream social video. So this is where you've got a social stream of content or a social stream of news. And as you scroll through that linear format, we have instant play video ads that kind of play as part of that content feed. So it's providing ads that really fit into the context of the environment and don't impact on the user experience.
And I think coming back to your question, what formats work best, I think it's very important that it is not a predefined format, because that's always or often mistaken in discussions when people talk about native. It's not the predefined Facebook in-stream format that is a native integration. And native for me is that it's really fully customizable and really integrated in the experience of the app. Yeah? For example, we have one game that has integrated our native solution. It's a mall builder app, where you have your burger shop and your bookstore and so on in your shopping mall. And then there are billboards in this shopping mall, and on those billboards you have icons that are advertising for other games. Yeah? And that's like the experience would also be in a normal world. Yeah? You would also see a billboard in a normal shopping mall. Yeah?
Sure. So I guess, kind of going after that, then, do you feel like that users have a better experience using, experience in native ads? What is the impact and what's the trade-off with the content that the users are seeing? Does it sacrifice any of the experience of the content, or do the users get a better idea of the ads because they're better ingrained within the actual app or mobile website or whatnot? Chad?
Yeah, I mean, I can start. So I thought this was kind of funny. So last night we're having dinner with a couple of folks from the conference, and somebody said, "Hey, I went on TechCrunch. I don't like your native ad there." I think you guys can do better. And my first thought was like, crap. Like we designed that and we probably can do better. And then I guess I kind of took a step back and was like, that person probably never made a comment that like that square rectangle ad that sits on 98% of sites sucks, right? And just the fact that he was even talking about the ad unit at dinner kind of said like, well, maybe we are actually doing something interesting. Like maybe we are starting to improve. And by improving, people are noticing it, and that by noticing it, they're looking at it much differently than they look at like a square ad, right? So, that's my first thought. And I think like we're in the early days. I think in an ideal, as this stuff goes further, I think, overall, it should match the page better. And I think if done right, you actually see a lot less user complaints than you would on regular ads. I just think that sometimes you actually have to get worse to get better overall, right? You have to kind of like iterate along, which I think is what we're trying to do. And I don't think we have it all figured out. I think we're just along on the ride, like most people here, I think. But I think that's okay, right? If you get a little worse, but eventually you're gonna get better, I think that long term, just settling for the square box is probably not as good as we can be in mobile, right?
I think the definition of native when it first came out, particularly around desktop, was more advertorial focused. So brand sponsoring content, brand sponsoring editorial that was guided towards their particular product. And I think some consumers weren't sure if it was paid for, if it was advertising, or kind of what that context was. And I think consumers are pretty smart now. So they won't engage with ads if it interrupts their experience, or they won't engage with ads if they don't like the content. So for any monetization partner, any advertising partner, let the data tell you that story. So if your click-through rate's dropping from ads, there's an issue with the format, there's an issue with the integration. So I think with anything when it comes to quality and consumer experience, the data will tell you there's a problem. So look at your analytics, look at your CPMs, and then make those calls. Don't be subjective about these things because you'll make the wrong call.
So overall, do you guys think that developers are going to see a higher eCPM for themselves just with the integrated ads into their content?
Yeah, definitely. We see eCPMs going up at $15 US in good cases, on average around 7 to 10. CTRs are 5 to 6 times higher. So the experience for the publisher is definitely much better.
Yeah, we just heard today one of the early testers of the unit telling us they saw about double the lifetime value on native versus kind of a typical download from a display unit. And I think it's going to take a little while for advertisers to start bidding more, but naturally they will, right? If something's worth double the lifetime value, that's going to lift up the market. So I think that's a good sign of what's possible. And frankly, if you look at what Facebook's done, they're making a lot of money. I know at this conference we don't like talking about Facebook quite as much, but they're doing pretty well. And I think their CPMs are just showing some of the possibilities of what native's all about.
Yeah, I'd probably just add that we're when we think about product development at Pandora, we're really trying to sort of augment the fact that we can drive higher value users, and instead of having more experimenters download an app per se, really what we're looking for is to be able to show an ad with multiple images, with potentially layering on video, layering on audio, and ultimately creating greater resonance and a better power user out of the gate. So yeah, absolutely. I think I'm pretty optimistic that CPMs will go up.
Awesome. So let's look at this from the perspective of an advertiser now. I guess what kind of campaigns are best suited for using native ads? Is it user acquisition? Is it more user reach or re-engagement? What have you guys seen? What are the what's best suited to use for native ads, or is it all of them?
Yeah, we are obviously seeing a lot of user acquisition campaigns, and the feedback is very good on the user acquisition side. What also works well is re-engagement, because it's not only that the ad doesn't disturb the user, it's also in addition relevant to the user, because he is re-engaged. And what the third area that works well is brand advertising, because for a brand it's very important that the brand doesn't disturb the experience, but is perceived as part of the game, and then it's also a very good result for the brand advertiser.
Yeah, I guess I would say we're primarily seeing native be used for three things right now. One is advertisers who want to get content out to various users. Very similar. If you've ever seen like what Huffington Post does, BuzzFeed, there's a few guys out there. So I think that's very effective just because the amount of content you consume in mobile is much higher than on desktop. The second is from a brand execution perspective. I think there's some things you can do in the rich media space that starts actually looking kind of native that the publisher can pull off. And I mean, what we're seeing, the biggest use case to date for us is definitely app install units. Just because I think especially on some of the sites we own and the publishers we work with, it kind of works. It almost feels like content, right? Where you're almost, it says sponsored, but you're kind of recommending an app based on technology to a user. And I think that actually, I mean, we don't see much pushback. We see actually users kind of liking it, almost seeing like it feels like part of the site.
I would say that the Pandora brand team is doing a really good job of using things like web skins and custom radio stations tailored for a specific brand. They're doing a great job taking advantage of that native experience. My expertise is more on the performance side, so it really does come down to user acquisition. I think 50% of our business is really app installs, and then the rest of it is sort of, like I said, traditional DR from the web, driving leads, lead generation. From a re-engagement standpoint, we're still a little bit cautious about how we're leveraging, IDFA and privacy issues surrounding that issue. So we've got a ways to go, but I would say mostly lead generation, user acquisition.
I think it can work really well for both. So for me, any advertiser, any marketer wants to take their message to their target customer and influence some kind of positive behavior change. So in its simplest form, that's kind of what advertising and marketing is. So if you're an app developer, you want to understand who's your customer, what are they doing on their mobile device, what games are they playing, how are they engaging, and therefore what experience do I deliver to that customer to get them to install my app. And we find obviously video works very well for that. You can showcase the features of the app, show them how the app works, how the experience is, and therefore when they install it, they've got a preconceived idea of how that app's going to play, what it is they need to do. And the same thing for a brand advertiser as well. So serving video to influence brand decisions works incredibly well. That's proven through the TV and through broadcast media. So I think for us as a video business, we can do that storytelling piece. We can show the consumer what the product is or what the service is, and really have slightly more of an emotive-driven sell through video ads. So I think it can work really well for brand and performance.
So do you guys see this as native ads as a long-term viable source of inventory for advertisers?
I think if we define native as fitting contextually with the app experience, so I think if we take that as a definition, then it has to stay. Providing better integrations, better monetization that gives better performance is going to drive better revenue for publishers, and then campaigns that work better are going to drive better advertising dollars and advertising budgets. So for me, I think it's going to stay and it's going to grow.
Yeah, I would also say that this is a long-term thing because it's so flexible, so modular that you can design whatever integration you like to do. Our publishers, they start doing variations of integrations and do A/B testing, and that's very positive feedback. Yeah?
So if you're an app developer or even a developer in general or a publisher, and you're not currently using native ads in your current content, or maybe you don't have the current setup to support native ads, I guess what is some advice that you guys might give to a general app developer or a publisher in general on if they should integrate native ads and if they need to create different avenues to support them?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you have not by now started thinking about testing native, it's probably a missed opportunity. And I don't think you're going to hit it out of the ballpark the first go-round. I don't think we've yet hit it out of the ballpark. I think we're still iterating along, but I think that the early data we're seeing suggests that the folks who are testing native, I haven't heard one person who tested native legitimately for 2 to 3 months with any major, no matter how they ended up doing it, who turned it off and said, I'm going back to 320 by 50 ads. I love them. They work really well. So I think that that's a sign that I think that for any publisher it can work. I think you just honestly just think about it, right? And you have to kind of break away from the mold of what you're used to. I mean, it's really easy to just throw up a 320 by 50 ad unit on your site and say, now we're making money. I think it's much harder to think about, like, what is the right way to actually speak to this audience?
I'm not sure any app developer should take advice from a sales douche from Pandora, but if I was going to give them advice, I'd probably follow the advice of our product people, because we have some really smart ones there, one of whom is speaking about native advertising at Casual Connect next week. Really, they follow the mantra that any native advertising product should be held to the same standard as a Pandora core product. And I think that also the other mantra is that any advertising or advertising product that's good for the listener is good for the advertiser. So that's really sort of what drives the backbone of our native efforts. I would also say we're very fortunate at Pandora in that we have a pretty big sales force to be able to evangelize a lot of the benefits of native advertising, and a support staff that can help sort of make it more accessible. And then lastly, I just think the fact that we have the targeting ability that we do, I think that is a key strategy or a key component to any native strategy you're going to roll out.
Yeah, I think there's two parts to that. So one, I think, is think about the consumer, think about the customer. Why would they engage with that ad unit? Why would they click on that ad unit? Why would they watch that video? If you can't think of a compelling reason, it's probably not the right thing to do. So I think you need to really think about the user experience and what that looks like. And the second thing is the data doesn't lie. Let the data tell the story. Look at the analytics, look at the metrics, and see what that's telling you. And I'm a big believer in going through that objectively and working out. If you're getting 1,000 people going to a page and not engaging with the ad, then something's wrong. Then you need to go back to the consumer. What were they doing? What weren't they doing? So I think those two things, the consumer and the data.
Cool.
And I think regarding advice, the good thing is you can just test it without kicking out your standard banners at the beginning, because it's not competing with traditional ad formats. You can test it in addition, see if it works, and once you're happy with the integration, then you can potentially turn off the old formats. Yeah?
So I wanted to ask one last question before to you guys before we open it up to everybody else. So we talked about how awesome native ads are and how great they are for developers and advertisers, but what are some drawbacks? What are some negative pieces about native ads? Have you guys seen any? Are there any?
No, there's nothing. No, I would say it's more difficult for the publisher to find a good integration, because if you take a standard banner, you just plug it in and that's it. For a good native integration, you need to come up with creative ideas and need to work a bit more on a good integration.
Yeah, I mean, I would echo that times like 100. I think, we work with probably 3,000, 10,000, I don't know, a lot of publishers out there in lots of different ways, and it is a lot easier to work with a publisher and just say, hey, I want to buy your 320 by 50 ad inventory, right, or a 300 by 250. And then, it's like, what's the rate, and let's go. To start talking about native and start talking about what should it look like, how should it serve, where do you want the image, the text, the placement on the page, and then the CPM has to match the placement. It gets really complicated, and actually, on both sides of the coin, right? Whether you're the tech platform or you're the publisher. So I think, I guess the long-winded way of saying it's going to take more time, and I think for some people that may not make sense for your business. I think it's worth the investment, but there is definitely some work to be done on kind of getting rolling. It's not as simple as just throwing up a basic standard banner.
Yeah, I'd just add that in addition to the operational challenges, you potentially risk alienating an audience if you sort of blur the line between what's real content and what's paid advertising. So, if I'm on Facebook and I see a recommended article that I'm interested in, it just creeps the shit out of me that I would go back and there'd be 5 other articles that are related to that. I don't know if that's native advertising or not, but I find it creepy. So I think that's a pitfall you have to really avoid and be careful. And again, it comes down to iteration testing and the core tenets of performance advertising, testing, analyzing, optimizing, and moving from there.
Yeah, just the same as Hanno. So it's typically SDK based, so it's harder to mediate, and therefore there's higher OpEx in getting it set up, but I still recommend doing it.
So when we open up to some questions, anybody? I know a lot of you guys in the crowd. I'll start calling on people.
Do it.
I've got a question. Is the bar open? Yeah. Oh.
Not yet. I mean, it has been since 11, but pay no attention to that bar for a few minutes. Any questions, guys? No more?
Define the difference between relevant and creepy.
Match.com and Tinder.
I mean, I have no idea. I will say this. We definitely now call out in like black bold, all our native ads are sponsored. We used to have like a little tiny thing, and then some people started writing blogs saying that was too creepy, and that pissed people off. So now we call it out as being sponsored. I have no idea what is creepy or not creepy. Somehow if you put black sponsored on it, now that's not creepy. Like, to me is like doesn't really change much, but that made our executive team really happy. So.
Yeah, I'd say it's pretty subjective, right? What's creepy for me, a very old sales douche from Pandora, is probably different from your average millennial, or young person, and it may not creep them out like the things that I talked about, that it does on Facebook. So I think it's subjective. I think it's again, going back to what I was saying earlier, which is we want to drive power users, not experimental users. So that's how we really iterate and focus our energies in terms of designing native experiences.
Yeah, I think on a serious note, I think the creep is the kind of the cookie-based desktop world, right? So where you get followed around by the websites you've been to and your history of browsing, and it follows you to everything that you've done before. And that's kind of where we're trying to get to on mobile. And we're not there yet because we don't have the same cookie-based environment and the same user data. So I think we're striving to be creepy, I guess, in a way. We'd hope that tech will enable us to do that over the next couple of years.
Any more questions?
None of us are creepy, though.
One more, right here.
What do you think are some of the big challenges in standardizing something that's inherently custom on the advertiser side?
Yeah, I think that's a really, really good question. Honestly, I think native means a lot of different things. I think that one of the things we're going to need to see happen for native to really take off is for it to move. I mean, if you look at right now, there's probably 50 different ways of advertising natively, right? I know people may not like this answer, but I think honestly it probably has to be like 10 to 15 that are prolific across the world. That as an advertiser, you don't have to work across 50 different partners, right? So I think that as you start to see it move from 50 to 10 to 15, whoever those 10 to 15 are, I think it starts getting easier because then those units start, you can, as an advertiser, your unit could be a text and image, right? And that be manipulated in a way through technology to be native. So I don't know, that probably isn't the most fun answer, but I think as the number of vendors starts to get smaller but those few start to become larger in their reach, it naturally will get a lot easier because you're going to have less folks to have to work with to accomplish more.
Didn't hear the question, I'm sorry.
How to make it easier.
How to make it easier?
Yeah, she said it's hard.
I'll cut out arbitrage. Just get rid of it. Make it illegal. Arbitrage is gone. Banned. Gone.
Yeah, I would say for the advertiser, it's already quite easier because if it's modular, you just have to give like 10 different image formats, and then the publisher can pick whatever image format he likes and adapt it a bit, add his own text, add his own ratings, whatever. And then it's very individual in the integration, but because it's modular, it's quite easy for the advertiser to provide all the assets.
Any more questions? All right, well, I guess we'll wrap up. Hand it over to Peter, but I wanted to first thank Has Offers and Mobile App Tracking for putting on this event. I think there's a lot of really great leaders in the space and thought leaders here in the room. There's a lot of brain power, so thanks for getting us all together. It's a great time.